Hello and welcome back to the movies. Made us do it. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I watched some stuff this week. One movie was almost really good. It came close.
Almost really good.
Yeah. It was. We'll get to it. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Let's start with the creator.
The big one.
Yeah. So I even went to the cinema for this one.
I think
First in a while.
I think you were right too. This
Yes.
certainly looks like a cinema movie. It's Neil Blomkamp, right? Who?
No, Gareth Edwards.
Oh, it's Gareth Edwards. Well, he's another one of those like cinema,
Oh, God.
cinema visual guy. So yeah, that works. Why did I think that was Blomkamp? That's weird. Yeah. Okay. So Gareth Edwards, obviously.
It looks very probably reminded you of Chappie. It's very.
Yeah, that's probably it actually, and a bit of Elysium as well. It's got
Yeah.
that kind of that
Yeah,
vibe
yeah.
about it, that cyberpunky kind of vibe.
Like in with those movies.
Yeah. Well, Gareth Edwards. I mean, obviously, I liked his Godzilla. I'm not going to blame him for Rogue One, and you know,
There's a lot to like in Rogue One.
there is. It's just the plot. This is the main issue.
It's,
But
I think it's-
I appreciate that the version he shot and the version that ended up happening are
Yes.
completely different things. So yeah.
Plus, I think it's the best.
Oh, it's
Star
the
Wars
best.
movie that he done.
Yes, it's the best Disney Star Wars movie. It's a low
Yeah.
bar, but
It's
it is
very low
top of that
bar.
list.
But I loved Monsters. I thought Monsters was a great. I think because that was his debut, wasn't it? That was the first film he did, and that was a really good film.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the follow up to that, but that's not him.
It's not
is it?
him. Yeah, it's someone else.
So this is basically sort of future of 2060. Well, sort of 10 years before that, I think it is. I think it's set to 2060, but robots are now a thing.
Robots are a thing right now.
Yeah, well, they're not like
They're
doing
more
jobs,
of a thing.
They're not like emptying our rubbish and
Okay, yeah.
they're not that sort of everywhere.
Everyone's out of a job.
Everyone has a robot sort of thing, and basically they set off a nuclear bomb on LA,
Okay.
and America passes a law outlawing AI, while
Sorry,
Asia,
The robots
yes,
drop a nuke.
yes,
Okay.
And so they subsequently pass a anti-AI robot-y law,
Mm-hmm.
except for New Asia, the Republic of New Asia, embraces robots and is like a haven for them.
Right.
And you can go to there, and you can. There are things like people upload their likeness so that robots can use their likeness and things like that. And so there are lots of very human-looking like androids walking around.
Okay.
Sometimes the only way you can tell is because they're sort of the backs of their
I was gonna say because half of their head is missing.
yeah, the backs of their head is usually very robotic.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to John David Washington's character, Joshua, who it's not really giving away to say that he's basically in Asia undercover, and he's married to Gemma Chan's Maya,
Mm-hmm.
and they are in the middle of this basically the Americans attack. They come in, and they basically fucked him over because they didn't tell him they were coming, and they were coming ahead of what he thought they were. So they've messed him up. It all goes tits, and the Americans nuke this area, and he gets separated from it. Well, you presume his wife died on the escaping boats from this place. So she finds out that he is an American soldier, and she quickly runs away from him. She ends up dead, sort of thing. So a couple of years later, he's looks like he's doing a shitty job, and he's sort of back in America, and Alice and Jenny's Colonel Howell, and Ralph Ineson's General Andrews turn up, and they're like, he obviously he seems to be keep getting questions. There's this bloke. Well, they say bloke. There's this person called, oh no, what is it called? Nanan. I can't remember what it's bloody called now. There's a guy who seems to be like he's like the guy that makes the best AI. He's this sort of like the AI's, savior. And
Okay.
that was who he was undercover looking for. He was trying to find this scientist,
The creator.
yes. And the two military turn up, and they say, we want you to go in and find. He's built this super weapon. We want to know what it is, and we want you to destroy it. And he's like, I'm not fucking interested, don't care. And they show him footage of what appears to be his wife walking around and talking. So he's immediately like, yep, I'm in. I'll do it. So they go off. They do this mission. Sneak into to Asia, and they sneak into this facility. And it turns out, lo and behold, that the super weapon is little Alfie, or as he christens her Alfie. But it's this little robot girl, played by Madeline Una Voyelles. She is brilliant. She's so lovable. She's the sweetest little girl. Her performance is really, really great. I mean, to be fair, she doesn't have to do a lot but be cute.
Sure.
And but it's a really good performance from what she has to do. Basically, from there, they obviously the Asian robots and the Asian police force, they basically take out most of the Americans. Josh, questioning Alfie, says, "You know where my wife is," because she's drawing this picture, which is the tattoo that his wife has on her back. And he says, "You know where he is." So he basically goes on the run with her to try and find his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice and Jenny also survived, and she's an utter badass in this. She's sort of, mean American general lady. And she's trying to track him down. So you've got that sort of this cat and mouse thing going on.
Yeah.
But they're trying to avoid the authorities, and he's trying to get to, trying to find his wife. It's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing that the amount of money they've spent on this movie and the effects.
But that's Edward's speciality, right? Is making the most of smaller budgets. It's amazing what that guy has managed to achieve with smaller budget.
And the weirdest thing is it seems to be that he knows exactly. I mean, it seems like a stupid, like a simple thing. It's a director that knows the shots he wants.
Yeah.
He knows where the effects should go while he's filming, and he tells everybody where they're going. And then once he's done the filming, they put the effects in. How weird is that?
Yeah, these days it is rare, though.
Sorry?
These days it is rare. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, from what I've heard, the Disney does it. They just basically film, shots, and then they think about what the effects and stuff are going to be later.
Yeah.
How things are going to. They don't even, have a proper storyboard these days. It's like, how do you make a movie that way?
Especially an effects movie.
Yeah, it's crackers. But he's, he's literally filming it, saying, okay, basically there's going to be a tank there, it's going to be coming over here, and it's going to be doing that, and it's like, how simple is that? It doesn't sound too complicated, does it? But they're so beautiful. It's a really, really well made movie. Overall, the story is good. It's
okay.
There's a few bits that are a little on the nose. I mean, obviously, it's like, American imperialism.
I was going to say, the trailer kind of... I loved the trailer.
Yes.
But it did hit every cliche known to man.
Yes, it does.
In terms of like AI robots and like societal commentary.
It's quite amusing though because I think they're probably going to piss China off.
Do they care anymore?
I don't think so.
I think that love affair is kind of over.
That's a long sell, but it is quite funny that
Yes,
so
yeah.
Basically, there's like the Republic of Asia is mostly seems to be Thailand and sort of Tibeti sort of there are like robotic Buddhist monks wandering around and stuff. And I did appreciate that there's a very strong Buddhist core that goes through this movie, which I appreciated. I am a Buddhist. I'm not a very good one, but I am a Buddhist.
I'm a rubbish Buddhist, but still counts.
I do consider myself a Buddhist, even though I'm a terrible Buddhist. But there's a few things that I thought I really appreciated about the way these sort of robot things work and way.
Yeah.
And I can't really say too much because I'm not going to spoil stuff. But there's some really nice things. There's some really sort of on the nose things. There were a couple of twists that you will see from orbit. It's like, it's not, that's not even a twist. That's just, we just know that was going to happen. All the performances are great. John David Washington is really good in his part because it's mostly him, and Alfie sort of wandering around. Not enough Gemma Chan for my liking.
Sure,
that's a personal thing. Not enough Ken Watanabe, but that's just usual. Ken Watanabe just turns up in a movie, does his bit, and seems to wander off. Ken
Watanabe is well, I'm going to get to one of those actors soon. Not Ken Watanabe, but actors that are way too good for half the shit they end up turning up in. Yeah. He's one of those. Although I think him and Gareth Edwards go back to Godzilla, right? So yes. I think they have quite a good working relationship to where, I mean, God, if I could get Ken Watanabe, I would. I think he's just one of those actors.
His part was actually originally for someone else, if I remember rightly, but I can't remember who it
was. Right. Okay.
But yeah, he's great in the little part that he has. Overall, it's just a really enjoyable sci-fi movie, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
It's not pushing any boundaries or anything. It's not trying to do anything. But I don't think it's trying to be anything other than exactly what it is, which is an enjoyable adventure movie. It's with good characters, good performances, really great effects, and I really enjoyed it. It's all there. It's he knows what he's doing. He puts it there, and honestly, I've heard people complain about certain things. I just think that no, it's not. It's just a very well made, fun movie. So I think some people have said the battles go on too long, and I didn't find that at all. I thought the battles were really good. There's some really nice shootouts. There's a couple of things where questionable sort of things where there's one particular bit where the bad guys, the robots, use a grenade into it, sort of thing, in a room where the child and that it is, and you think, aren't they supposed to be trying to save this kid? Why would you use a fucking grenade, a stun grenade, or something, an EMP or something, anything that would just knock them out for a bit? There's a couple of bits like that where you go, oh, hang on, but it's not completely it's not movie breaking or anything. It was just there's some beautiful things. The Americans have this thing called Nomad, which is this like great big sky base which they fire their nukes from, and it comes over and it's got these like really cool lights that come down. It's that thing is really cool, and obviously that plays a huge part in the end, in a sort of and it does have very similar beats to Rogue One.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Well, I wonder if there's elements of what he wanted in the original, version of Rogue One that he was like, I'll make my own.
That's probably what he did. but overall, I would really rate it. I would say, go see it, because if you want a well-made, nicely budgeted, well acted, just enjoyable sci-fi movie that you're not expecting too much, that you don't expect too much from it.
Yeah,
I think you will really enjoy it. It's got some really good fun bits in it. There's as I said, the little girl, what's her name again? Madeline Wales. She's really charming, and the relationship they have as they're going along, and there's just some really lovely bits with it. I mean, you see it in the trailer. There's that lovely bit where they're in the bus, and that they're talking about heaven, and he says, I can't go to heaven because I've done bad things. And you don't have a soul, so you can't go to heaven. And some people will find it a little clawing, I'm sure, but I found it utterly charming. I really liked it. I liked the soul stuff, and the idea of these sort of the way these AI had sort of developed.
Yeah.
I can't say I wouldn't be more on the American side in real life, with the idea of every AI everywhere absolutely terrifies me. But
yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's because I grew up in a time of Terminator, and
yeah,
they're the bad guys. God damn it!
Speaking of which, your comment on the action scenes going on too long, combined with your talk of AI, did you see Ridley Scott's comments about Blade Runner?
No.
It's quite brilliant.
Saying dumb shit again.
No! See, I was going to say, I've got a love-hate relationship with Ridley Scott, because I think he's one of the best directors we have alive, but he has produced a lot of shit, and I do not agree with a lot of what he said about Blade Runner. However, he was responding to someone who said the thought at the time was that the film was too long and too slow.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, I hadn't seen Blade Runner for 20 years. Really, but I just watched it, and it's not slow. The information coming at you is so original and interesting, talking about biological creations and off-world mining, which, in those days, they said was silly. I say, go fuck yourself. I was like, yeah, good for you, Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
It's not slow. No. I think people just wanted an action movie. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then I guess here you've got the opposite, where they're like, oh my god, there's too much battle. Stop the battle.
I watched somebody I watched some girls react to that recently.
Oh no.
And some of the things they said afterwards just baffled me. Like, one of them said, well, you could have taken 40 minutes out of that.
Where?
And I was like, how?
Where?
They're like, oh, it's so slow and it's plodding and it's like, it doesn't really go anywhere. And like, what fucking movie did you just watch?
I don't understand. I think it's a generational... Well, actually, it's not a generational thing, because people said this back in the day as well, so it's not a generational thing. I don't get it. It's weird. But anyway, speaking of masterpieces, I watched Meg 2, The Trench.
Hooray! I still haven't got around to it yet. The main reason I want to watch it is because... oh, Christ, what's his name? It's the director, isn't it?
Ben Wheatley.
Yeah, Wheatley, who I love Ben Wheatley.
Well, this is like the least Ben Wheatley movie you will ever watch.
Well, that's the thing. When they said, oh, Ben Wheatley's going to be directing the Meg 2, I thought, how? Why?
Yeah, I think he just, wanted to laugh, I guess.
I think so. I think it sounds...
It shows he's quite diverse as a director, if nothing else.
Yeah, he just basically wanted to do a mad movie, I think.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. This is, well, obviously reprising his role, Jason Statham. Wu Jing, Sophia Kai, Paige Kennedy, Sergio Perez Manchetta, Skylar Samuels, and fucking Cliff Curtis, who is, for this film, he is this film's way too talented to be in this film guy.
Cliff Curtis is one. Yeah, he's one of those actors.
He's one of those actors who is just just tremendous, and just ends up in, because I always remember his performance is Uncle Bully in Once We Were Warriors.
Oh God!
Like, my God, he's fucking awful in that film. Like, not an awful. I mean, it's an amazing performance. But
the good thing about that
horrible.
It's never tainted my view of him.
No, because he's gone on to do such a varied roles.
Absolutely adorable characters.
Yeah, and he's adorable here. He's a lovely guy. He's not...
honestly, anybody who hasn't seen Once Were Warriors...
It's great.
Go see Once Were Warriors, but be warned, it will punch you in the kidneys.
It is dark as fuck.
It is. And, Tamora Morrison.
It's his best film as well.
There's Jake the Muss.
I think it's his best film as well.
Chef's Kiss.
Yeah, he's fantastic in that.
He is so wonderful.
Terrifying.
And what becomes of the broken-hearted?
Mm.
Not as good, but it's actually not too bad, the sequel.
Yeah, it's okay.
Honestly, I'm not sure it really needed a sequel.
I don't think it did. That ending when he stood outside the bar, screaming and shouting that she'll be back and that she's worthless, and they're just leaving in the car. That's the best ending. You hear the police coming. Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here he is in this movie, Cliff Curtis. I'm like, oh, Cliff, what are you doing? But again,
this one.
Do you know what? This is what I was going to say to you, Matt. I think we reviewed this on the movie show when we were doing radio, right?
I think so.
And I think you and me went to the cinema to see it.
Did, yeah.
Right.
We loved it.
We did. I don't remember a fucking thing about it, other than there was a giant shark and that Jason Statham was like a marine biologist or something ridiculous.
Was in the first one.
Yeah. So he was in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in this one as well. Congratulations. I've forgotten so much about that first movie. I enjoyed it. I remember really enjoying it, but it is just like white noise.
I was going to say, what's to remember? It had
exactly right.
Big shark, and it had Jason Statham, in a submarine.
So I guess in the Meg, they kept the shark. I don't know. I don't think either they killed it and found another one.
I would say there was more than one in the movie.
Okay, because there's more than one in this, which I thought was a twist on the formula, but obviously not. So there was more than one in the first one as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's more than one here. They've got a pet one now, and it's like Godzilla. They've got that oil rig in the MonsterVerse where it's like, oh, there we keep an eye on Godzilla. Well, they're here. They've got like this Meg-proof thing, and they have a Meg.
Because of course they do.
Because of course they do. And Wu Jing, his character is like this billionaire who's kind of funding everything, and he's trying to like tame it with a thing. It's like shades of King of the Monsters here, but not really. It has moments, but anyway, it escapes. You'll be shocked to know. But anyway, they go on this expedition to the I guess it's the Mariana Trench, and they discover there's loads of them. There's loads of Megs, and there's a big Meg. It's like the Alpha Meg, right?
Yeah.
And they're all kind of trapped by the trench for magic reasons. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, story, whatever. I'm not here for the story, god damn it. Anyway, yeah, so for reasons. But anyway, they go down, and then there's these pirates. Oh, yeah, there's pirates in this movie. So there was pirates in the 5 years prior to the start of the movie. Jonas, for some reason, is now fighting crime. And he's on this boat because they're polluting the ocean. So Jason Statham goes to take photos to like take them down, get them arrested.
Is he Dave Angel eco-warrior?
He's an eco-warrior, and he goes in to take photos of the toxic waste being dumped and get records. But obviously they find him, so he kicks the living shit out of them. Because it's Jason Statham.
We're not asking for something.
No. But he escapes, and they get arrested. And of course, this dude comes back later because then there's pirates now, and they want to. They're in the trench, and they're harvesting rare earth materials, and they're gonna poison the planet because they don't care. They just want money. But anyway, as a result of shenanigans, including some ludicrous moments. I mean, this whole film is stupid, right? Obviously.
That's why we, that's kind of why we watched the first one, really.
Yeah, there's a scene where someone's given a choice, and the choice is shoot Jonas in the heart with this underwater shotgun,
right?
Or I'll leave you down here to die. And I'm like, if you shoot him in the heart in this pressurized room right next to the fucking door that goes out into the Marianas Trench, I think you're all gonna fucking die anyway. I'm pretty sure that's just death. But yeah, it's ludicrous. Anyway, as a result, the barrier breaks down, and now the Megs are free. But it's not just Megs now. Now it's like all of prehistoric Earth is coming up from the ocean, and we have giant octopus, and we have lizard monsters. Don't know what they are, but they're on land. So now there's like land. They're like amphibian creatures, so they can go in the water and then they swim up and they can go on land. And so there's this big to do with all of these prehistoric creatures escaping, giant squid attacking people, and the Megs are attacking people. And it's up to our gang to stop them. They never mention ever again that the trench is presumably just, I guess, life could just continue to escape and kill everything that it finds. They're not worried about it. In fact, at the end of this movie, one of the Megs gets away. They're like, it's probably pregnant, but don't worry about it. I'm like, all right. Well, we need a sequel. It's fine.
Yeah.
This is one of the dumbest films I've seen. It's certainly one of the dumbest films I've seen this year, but I had a blast. I had absolute blast. Like I did with the first one. This is so stupid, but there is not an ounce of pretentious nonsense in this film. It knows exactly what it is. Yeah. It leans heavily into it. For me, this is like you've got those like I don't know, Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus in those movies. And this film has a nod to that. I mean, you literally have one of the Megs going up against a Giant Octopus in this movie. This is like those movies, but well made.
Yeah.
So it's well-made schlock, which I'm.
That's exactly what the first one was.
Exactly, and it's more
exactly
of the same.
What it was.
Yeah.
And it's more fun. It's it's fun for that fact.
Yeah.
And it's made well enough that you're not laughing at the effects too much, and
no,
the really bad acting.
No, the effects are great. The effects are fine. The it's very humorous. There's a lot of people getting munched, as you would hope, in the final act. Jason Statham still doesn't roundhouse kick a shark, which I believe was my one disappointment from the first film. That remains to be the case, although he does spear a few now, which is fun. It's really fun. I mean, like, if you saw the first one and you hated it, don't watch this.
Well, yeah, why would you bother with the second one?
If you watched the first one and you liked it, and you're worried that Ben Wheatley's going to come along and subvert your expectations, he's not.
Yeah,
like it's more of the same, and it's unashamedly so. They've ramped it up to where now like there's Megs in it, but like it's all sorts of creatures now. I guess the Megs are the main threat, although it kind of felt like for a moment there the giant octopus was more of a threat than anything else. Well, and actually all those little creatures as well, because they're on land just murdering everyone on the island. They seem like more of a threat than a shark that's just in the water. But regardless, chaos ensues. It is a big dumb monster movie, but it's well made. It's schlocky, but it's well made. It's schlocky, but it's pretty well acted. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Had a blast.
Last movie was Rebecca, and that was a weird one. That was one that's I watched that, and I know I reviewed it, and it was that was a pointless movie.
Right.
It was a movie that didn't need to be made because the is it the 40s version? It's 40s, 50s. That version is just perfect, and it's so similar to that in certain beats that it was pointless.
Yeah.
So that it surprised me when he did that, and then when he said he was going to be doing this, that surprised me even more. It felt a bit even more weirder for him. But, hell.
Yeah, I still haven't watched his Pandemic in the Earth movie.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I keep meaning to watch that.
It's certainly not for everyone, but then I think that about most of his movies.
It came out during that time when I was like, if anything mentions the pandemic in my entertainment, it can get in the bin. I'm not interested. I feel like I've got to a point now where I could probably watch it and appreciate it for what it is,
Yeah.
But,
I still think the Kill List is his best movie. Kill List, I think, is.
I really like, is it Field in England?
Field in England is also...
That was really good.
Brilliant too. I think that, that Sight and Sightseer, those three, Sightseers, Kill List, and Field in England, are just almost perfect movies.
Yeah, they're really good. Really solid.
I even liked his High Rise. I thought High Rise was quite good as well.
Yeah, High Rise was good. That's Tom Hiddleston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Free Fire was fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Meg 2 is definitely fun. It's very dumb. It's very stupid. It's not trying to be anything but that.
Yeah.
And it succeeds at what it sets out to do. It's very silly, very entertaining. Dumb but fun.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. If you like the first one, you'll love it. It's more of the same.
The first one was good fun.
Yeah. And it's the same here. So anyway, what else have you watched?
So I will go with Beau is Afraid.
Beau is Afraid.
So this is the latest from Ari Aster,
who
is another one of those directors that I've come to adore.
Yeah.
So he directed Hereditary and Midsommar.
I still think Hereditary is one of the best modern horror films we've got.
Yeah, I think it's certainly shot up my list as one of the best horror movies ever made.
It's genuinely brilliant. I mean, thanks down to a lot of it down to the direction, but also a lot of it down to Toni Collette.
Yeah, how she didn't win all the awards just for that movie.
That is an Oscar-worthy performance if ever I saw one.
Yeah, she's absolutely brilliant. So, Midsommar I liked a lot. I seem to like that a lot more than a lot of the reviews.
I don't hate it. I didn't think it was perfect, but I did enjoy it.
If you thought that movie was challenging, oh boy, just strap in for this one. So this movie is 3 hours long.
And it's an A24, of course.
Well, actually, what's really funny is it's not 3 hours long. It's a minute short of 3 hours long.
Oh, it's like when something's like £1,999.99.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not £2,000. It's not that.
So we are introduced to Joaquin Phoenix's Beau Wesserman, who lives in I think it's supposed to be New York, but it looks like people have described LA these days. So he's
what a shithole.
Oh, like mega shithole.
Right.
So he's neurotic about everything. When you at the start of the movie, he's in his psychiatrist's office, and he zones out a couple of times when he's talking to his psychiatrist, and he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to see my mum. It's the anniversary of his dad's death." So he never knew his dad. You find out later that his mum tells him that his dad died while he was ejaculating him. So he died during the conception. He had a bad heart, and apparently so did his grandfather and his great grandfather, and so will you.
Oh, great!
Which is nice. So he sort of, you see him go home, and the city he lives in is just full of lunatic homeless people everywhere. It's dirty, it's disgusting. There are people fighting. There are people filming people jumping off of buildings and laughing. There are thievings. There is a naked guy who is stabbing people to death, and the police don't seem to be doing anything about it.
Okay.
there are completely useless policemen who were shooting at the victims of the crime. It's basically everything, every horror story you hear about LA. It's that basically.
Right. Okay.
So he goes home. He's in his terrible apartment in this lunatic city, and he's got a flight in the morning, sort of thing. He's got to make this flight, and the building has got like there are posters on the building saying, "Oh, the water's not working, and there are brown deadly spiders everywhere." He goes to bed, and somebody puts a note through his door saying, "Could you please turn your music down? It's really loud, and people are trying to sleep." He's not playing any music, so he goes back to bed. Another one comes, and the note says, "What is wrong with you? You turn your music up when I ask you to turn it down." And from there, it just goes on until he obviously oversleeps. So he's desperately trying to pack his stuff up. And when he's about to leave his apartment, he's got the keys in the door and his luggage waiting, but he forgets something or the phone goes, I forget which. He goes back into his apartment. When he comes back out, his keys and his bag is gone.
Right.
So he basically phones his mum saying, "Oh, she said, where are you? Are you in the car yet? Are you on the thing?" And he's like, "No, my stuff's been stolen." And she obviously sounds incredibly disappointed. And she's, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry." And he says, "Oh, can't we talk about it?" Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, "Oh, no, don't worry about it." So he then has this tablet, and he's told by his psychiatrist, this tablet, you must take it with water.
Right.
So he has this moment of panic. His water's not working. And he looks out of the window and sees all of the fighting and weirdness going on outside, and right across the street is a shop with water bottles in the window. So he decides he's going to, go out and get some water. So he leaves the door open. He gets to the bottom of his apartment, and he leaves this book in the doorway, and he runs over. And of course, while he's waiting for his card to clear, his card doesn't clear. Doesn't have enough money, and he's just watching the hordes of homeless people pile into his house.
Right.
So from there, basically, they take over his apartment. He then, basically, after that, he ends up getting back in there, but there's a dead guy in his apartment. Everything is trashed. He has a bath, and there is a guy above his bath, like holding out, against the walls, and falls on him. So he runs out of his apartment naked and gets ran over.
Right.
So just before that, he found out that his mum, he phones his mum, and a UPS guy answers and says, "I just opened this door. This door was opened. There was a bad smell, and there was a lady with a chandelier crushed her head." He says, "Can you describe the lady to me?" He's like, "Can you describe what her body looks like? Because she doesn't have a head." So from there,
okay,
he goes outside. Then he gets run over. He gets picked up by Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan's characters. Nathan Lane is a surgeon. He puts him sort of back together, and he's in this house, and they have a son who died in the war, and they have a daughter who he's in the bed of, and they've got this veteran outside in this caravan who is obviously got serious PTSD and lots of issues and stuff. And from there, basically, it becomes a quest to get to his mum's funeral.
Right.
He phones the lawyer at some point. The lawyer tells him that he's an awful person, and they're Jewish, so the body should be buried as soon as possible. You're supposed to sit Shiva, and then it's supposed to be buried straight away. But of course, his mum left instructions that he should be there. So they've put it off, and basically, Bo has every neurosis you can possibly think of.
Yeah.
Like, turned up to 11. And everything around him is turned up to 11. It's all awful. It's all fucking, and this is clearly a comment on society and how we perceive everything. Wow, it's quite the film. It's way too long. It sort of gets more patient play. It plays on your patience more as it goes along as well.
It sounds kind of, I was going to say narratively, it sounds kind of all over the place, but...
Oh, it is. It's, I mean, after he gets from one place to another, he ends up falling in with a troupe of actors who live in the forest. From there, he has this big dream sequence about a life that he's not had. And I'm honest, I'm not going to give too much away, but there's a twist that there's a couple of twists that you think, okay, I sort of saw that coming, but I didn't see what he does with the twist.
Right.
There's obviously his mum was an awful person who kind of made all his neuroses in the first place.
Sure.
But he's never really had any backbone to, overcome any of these neuroses or overcome anything, say anything against his mother or, everything is hyper. And this is honestly, I don't know who I would recommend this movie to. It's not a bad movie. It's beautifully shot. It's really well acted. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is completely committed to this lunatic character.
As he frequently is. He is one of those actors, this kind of all in, right? Whatever role he's given.
Yeah, and everybody's doing, completely their part. I mean, if you thought Midsummer was challenging, this is turned out to 11. This is beyond that. It's really hard to sort of say. I mean, it's sort of a good movie, sort of. It's hard to sort of, come to a sort of terms with it because it's so odd and so sort of over the top. It didn't make me want to kill everybody like that Wes Anderson movie I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't anywhere. It wasn't bad like that was. This is just so bizarre and so sort of odd that I imagine anybody going to the cinema watching this, I imagine there were so many walkouts because it's so weird and way too long. You could have definitely hacked this down.
Yeah,
but I think he wants to. He's done what he's out to do. I think he wanted this to you to question everything and to try your patience. He wants you to sort of.
It's a risky business.
Yeah, and he's not explained anything. He says, he describes it as a Jewish Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So that was okay. I kind of see that. It's a definitely a sort of quest movie. In that he's trying to get from one place to another, and everything is against him. It's so bizarre, and it is funny because it's a black comedy. There are certain bits that made me laugh, and it really is dark humor. It's really sort of it will push your buttons. But I honestly don't know how I could recommend it. It's not it's got at times touches of Lynch and and touches of that sort of, the madness, and because of the way it's you're with Bo all the time. Your whole sort of point of view is Bo. So there are times that almost like chapters, because he keeps passing out or he gets knocked out or something, and it feels like that's the end of that bit, and this is that we're ready for the next bit. So you get that, but you don't know whether everything is really like it is everything is awful, or whether it's just the way he perceives everything as being fucking awful. And sometimes it's a case of, I don't really care. It's just so fucking weird and bizarre. Yeah. I kind of enjoyed it.
I gotta be honest with you, this sounds like a movie I will hate.
I will never watch it.
That's my gut feeling. I'm gonna watch it, but I feel like...
I will watch Hereditary.
Oh yeah, I'd watch Hereditary anytime. I'd love that movie.
Midsommar, I think I will probably watch again.
I probably will watch it again at some point, yeah.
I don't think I could ever sit and watch I Was Afraid again.
Okay.
It's honestly, I would recommend it almost for one of the twists, because it's so like, what the actual fuck? What have you done? It honestly, you would in a million years, the twist near the end when it comes is so fucking weird and so bizarre. You're thinking, what was he smoking when he decided to do this? It's
damn.
Wow. Honestly, it's certainly a unique movie. So I will recommend it if you want a movie that will test your patience, that has a very dark sense of humor, and is just bizarre on bizarre. Here it is. This is it. This is the movie. But for any like just average moviegoer, no, I can't recommend it to the. I mean, no one I know in my family. I couldn't. My wife saw the trailer and was like, no. So, and that was just the trailer, and I couldn't recommend it to like any of my fans. I'd struggle even recommending it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know your tolerance for these sorts of movies is pretty high.
It's higher than average.
I mean, I want you to see it just for the twist.
All right, I'm gonna watch it anyway, I think.
But it's like I said,
But my gut feeling is I'm not gonna like it.
It definitely feels like he just opened up and went, "This is how I feel about the modern world."
Right.
It feels very much to me like that. It feels like this is his sort of interpretation of modern neuroses and modern, the way we perceive the modern world and how everything is fucked, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
It starts off better than it. I think the first sort of half an hour or so is sort of more enjoyable. It sort of meanders as it goes along, so it will definitely try your patience. But I kind of say for you to give it a go, but I honestly can't.
But not anyone else.
Only people who really want to be tried and tested and really do like Ari Aster. I think, and even then, this will test you. But that's the movie. It's
okay. Well, I'll probably give it a go just to torture myself and see what you think of my reaction. But
it's kind of worth it just for the twist.
Speaking of twists, I saw Cobweb. A horror film directed by Samuel Bodin, starring Lizzie Kaplan, Woody Norman, Cleopatra Coleman, and Anthony Starr.
In the trailer for this, I love Lizzie Kaplan.
She's great in this. In fact, all of the cast are great in this. This was a great movie until it wasn't. Unfortunately. So the film starts with and kind of revolves around Peter, this 8-year-old boy who's basically bullied at school particularly by this one kid, continually bullies him. His parents are kind of, at first, they're overbearing and but quite like distant. They're not the most caring of parents to begin with.
Right.
And immediately this film makes it bloody obvious that there's someone or something in the walls.
Right.
It's one of those movies, and I almost turned it off for that reason, because I'm so bored of those people living in the walls or in the, I've seen so many of those movies now.
Yeah.
But then it got interesting, and it became really good until it went completely off the fucking rails right at the end. I don't really know how to talk about this without spoilers. I don't know how to handle this. Okay, so as I said, at first it's like, hey, emotionally distant parents trying to, and this boy who is being bullied at school and clearly needs help, and is getting help from the girl in his wall. Starts with knocking, and he knocks back, and it knocks back, and he's like, oh my god. And then he starts hearing the voice of this girl, and this girl's talking to him through the wall and trying to give him advice. And his substitute teacher, Miss Devine, she notices some weird things about him, and one day in his art class, or I don't know if his art class, or they're asked to make a picture or something, he does this real dark, disturbing picture of a boy asking for help. So she goes to visit the parents, and Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr, who obviously off the back of Homelander, he's great at just portraying slightly unhinged psychopath. She can tell immediately something's off, and at that point, that was the point where I was about to kind of be like, oh, this is, I'm not sure I'm bothered with this. This was the point where it changed for me, where Lizzie Kaplan starts acting like a fucking psycho in the way she's behaving.
She does very good.
Yeah, she does very good. Neither of them.
She plays Annie Wilkes in that Stephen King series, The Young Annie Wilkes, and I've not seen it, but apparently she's really good as the young Annie Wilkes.
Castle Rock.
Yeah, Castle Rock, that's the one.
Yeah. It's a good series. At least I've only watched season 1, but really good. So it becomes clear that there's something more going on. The parents are not physically abusive that we see.
Right.
But clearly emotionally abusive. And it all kind of takes a turn at that point where you're like, oh god, the parents are actually mental. They tell him it's closing in on Halloween. He wants to, do Halloween stuff like a kid does. And they tell him, well, no, you can't go out and do Halloween because there was a kid who lived in this street who disappeared on Halloween night. So we're very funny about kids going out Halloween. Best not. End an argument, and he ends up getting locked in the basement. So they're clearly abusive at this point. It moves into full on like, okay, they're psychos and abusive, and now Ms. Devine is going to try and figure out what's going on, whilst the wall person is trying to give him advice and trying to help him.
So every time you say that the teacher is called Miss Devine,
my
brain pictures Devine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm having trouble just with this picture of Divine wandering around this movie.
So we have this we have this setup now where the film started is, oh, there's a creepy ghost in my walls, to now, oh my god, I'm being abused by my parents, and there's this girl in the wall giving me advice. Is it a real girl? Is it a ghost? Is it just his imagination from abuse? And he's like invented something that's going to help him through this. Meanwhile, we've got Ms. Devine kind of putting her nose in where it's not convenient. Effectively, the school are like, you can't keep turning up at these people's houses because You've got no reason to be there. Did you see any evidence of abuse on the kid? And she's like, well, no, it's just a feeling in this picture. And they're like, that's not really enough to go on. You can't just start accusing people or even investigating this. It's not our place. And one of the teachers says, look, you know, there are thousands of kids like Peter, but without the evidence, nothing we can do about it. So there's your kind of mid-movie bit, right? And then it just goes off the fucking... Because I was really invested at this point. There was some really creepy stuff going on. There's like weird dream sequences that Peter has, and you're like, oh, is this real? Are his parents actual monsters? Or is this like a manifestation of his you know, fears about his parents?
Yeah.
Some really cool scenes. Oh, God, do I just spoil this? I kind of feel like I have to spoil this for like my review to make any sense.
So it's like 5. You're gonna spoil it. So for 10
the next
minutes.
10 minutes, assume spoilers. So suddenly, well, not suddenly. It's hinted throughout the movie, but I was hoping that it was either a ghost or just in his head.
Yeah.
Turns out the girl in the wall is like, I'm your sister, and they're gonna kill me if you don't deal with them, and they're gonna put you in the wall like they put me in the wall. I'm like, okay. So anyway, that all takes place. Stuff happens that I won't spoil because I don't think I need to. And then he stands up to the bullied kids. Sorry, that happens. And the kid wants revenge. And so him and his mates head to the house on Halloween. Meanwhile, he's let his sister free from the wall. She was locked behind the wall, and she's now at the wall. And she's a spider girl. She has like 8 legs, and she's a spider girl. And she climbs up the walls, and she's got really long hair. And
well, I presumed it had. I mean, it's called Cobweb, so it kind of has to be something to do with spiders, surely.
She's a monster girl, and evil, and also
she's a monster girl,
and also evil. So,
do they explain why she's a monster girl?
Oh, Matt, yes, I'm glad you asked. Would you like to know the explanation as to why she is?
Please. Tell me why she's
a spider girl. She is a spider girl. This is not a direct quote. This is pretty much what Spider Girl tells him.
Right.
Trust me, bro. I was just born this way. Spider Girls happen. They just happen. Don't worry about it. She was just born a freak.
Oh.
A spider freak. And her parents hated her, so they didn't kill her. They just locked her in the walls, and she learned how to climb walls because she was in the walls. So now she's a spider woman. She's just born that way. She actually, literally, I'm sure the actual line is, sometimes these things just happen.
Right.
Also, they do a great job in this movie with some of the shots leading up to the reveal. The CGI of Spider-Girl, when you actually see her, is laugh out loud funny. It's terrible.
Oh.
It is fucking terrible. Now, I was messaging my friend Russ during this because I was like, oh, Cobweb seems pretty good. And he was like, I did not like the CGI. I was like, oh, okay. And I was watching it. I was like, well, the CGI is okay. I was like, I don't really like where this plot's going because in the last 20 minutes we go into Spider-Girl territory. And I was like, okay. But I was like, but it seems fine because they were doing a lot of shots that weren't showing too much.
Yeah.
But oh boy, when they do the full reveal, it's bad. It's really bad. And yeah, the whole thing, it's like, God, you had a really cool story here where it was like, maybe it's the ghost of the girl that disappeared.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in his imagination. He just needs to stand up to his abusive parents and his abusive friend, or not friend, but abusive kid in school. Those were fine. But then to be like, oh no, it's a spider girl living in the walls, and we're not going to explain how she's a spider girl. She was just born that way. Trust me, bro. Like, just like, okay, sure. Like I was hoping for some, because for a while I was like, oh, there's some like weird, like almost goosebumpsy thing going on here, where maybe the parents are like weird creatures. Like maybe it's a family of weird creatures, and he's not realized he's a weird creature yet, and or some, you know what I mean? Like there was some weirdness going on, and it was like, okay, because he's having weird dreams as well, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe there is going to be some science fiction thing, kind of like a Twilight Zone thing, where they're all a family of monsters, and he hasn't become that yet, like or puberty will bring it on, or something, or something like that, and that maybe the sister lost control and now she's hiding in the walls because she can't come out, or something like that, or they're actually just psychopaths and he's imagining this girl, and that would have been fine, or it's a ghost story and the ghost is trying to warn the kid that your parents killed me, they'll probably end up killing you. That would have been fine, but it goes into this other the last 20 minutes just go off the rails, off the reservation, and into a completely different schlocky movie with terrible CGI. It's a real shame. I like the first 10 minutes or so, I was like, okay, someone living in the walls looks fine, but I'm not that interested. Then the rest of the movie was really good, and I was really invested, and I was loving it. And then the last 20 minutes were just like awful. For me, anyway. I
kind of want to watch it now, just for the
I would recommend it, because a lot of the movie is good. It just feels like it goes off. You may disagree, listener or Matt. You may disagree. For me, it just went completely off the rails at the end. Personally. But there's a lot of good up until that point. I would say up until the point that he lets Spider Baby out and she's evil. It had a lot of promise, and even then it's like, oh, there are moments where it's like, oh, there's some of it's kind of interesting, it's violent, there's some practical effects that look nice, and some interesting shots to hide the CGI, but good god when you see it, good god. So yeah, I don't know, like, much like I would recommend it, for at least watch it once. It's interesting, if nothing else. But yeah, it's a really nice movie for a while there, and then it just kind of loses it in that last 20 minutes or so. But yeah. Anyway, what else have you watched?
So I also watched Totally Killer.
Yes.
Which is an Amazon original. Directed by Nanatcha Khan, starring Kernan Shipka and Olivia Holt, and it's also got Julie Bowen and Randall Park in it. So basically, we are introduced to Jamie Hughes. She's called Hughes. Her family's called Hughes. Not there. So we're introduced to Jamie, who is your how we perceive typical millennial-y Gen Z, who sort of hates her parents, sort of thing. Her mum's overprotective, and she's going out to a concert with her friend. Her dad takes her, and obviously she's embarrassed by her father. Her mum's protective at Halloween because back in the 80s, 3 of her best friends were murdered by this serial killer who wore this sort of mask, which is somewhere between Max Headroom and...
Yeah, do you know, when I saw the poster, my first thought was Max Headroom.
Yeah, it's a cross between Max Headroom and Billy Idol.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So they were murdered. They were butchered. They were stabbed. Each one was like stabbed 14 times or something. And she was. It seemed like she was going to be the next, but the killer never took her out.
Right.
So Jamie's best friend. What's the friend's name? Amelia? I think it's Amelia. She is working on a time machine for her science project. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Fine. So there's this rundown amusement park, right? Where
The beauty is that if she fails a science, if she doesn't, well, I mean, if you actually invent a genuine time machine for your science project, you should definitely win.
yes.
But the beauty is, if you lose, you can just go back and keep doing it until you do win.
She's having a problem, making it. She's having a problem.
Yeah, no shit. It's a time machine. I imagine that stuff's complicated.
Now she's working on the actual plans for this time machine actually came from her mother, not her. So she's working on a time machine that her mother came up with. And she's been doing it in secret. Her mother doesn't know about it. There is a guy who has been had this podcast that it's mostly about this murder, and he does a murder tour and stuff.
Do you know, this movie is giving me really weird. It's brand new.
Yeah.
This movie is giving me weird flashbacks to a very similar movie. Weird.
This movie will give you flashbacks.
Yeah, maybe that's all it is, but yeah.
So basically, the killer reappears.
Oh no!
And kills her mother.
Uh-oh.
And what I really like is there's a couple of bits where Jamie says to her mum, "Oh, I'm going out, blah 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 blah," and her mum says, "Oh, you got to be careful out there and all this sort of stuff," and she says, "Look, you took me to karate classes from the age of
it's fine.
7.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. I can handle myself. Okay. I mean, you've been doing these sorts of things for years. You're pretty good. And when the killer turns up, Julie Bowen, may not be mostly her. It may be at stunt doubles, but it looks pretty good. She holds her own. She fights back, and it's this killer. And for a couple of moments, you think this killer ain't gonna get her.
Right.
But obviously he does. The killer kills her. And obviously, Jamie's distraught.
Yeah.
And
as you would be.
Exactly. And she goes to see her friend at the time machine thing. Her friend isn't in there, and the killer turns up, and there's a chase, and she ends up in the time machine, and the killer puts his knife through the console of the time machine, which makes the connection, and she ends up back in 1987, where she discovers that her mum was a bitch, and her mother and her group were. So this both made me cringe and made me love it at the same time. Her mum's gang, very much like Heather's or the Plastics from Mean Girls.
Yeah,
they're these awful girls, and they all dress like Molly Ringwald.
Okay. So
they all wear an outfit that Molly Ringwald wore from one of her. From 16 Candles, or
yeah,
and it had the effect of making me going, oh, for fuck's sake! But that's very cool. It's I like it, but I hate it at the same time.
Yeah. It's oh, nice reference. However,
yeah, it's really bad, but it's also really cool.
I too have watched films.
So she goes to the school, and some of the things I do like about this is. Obviously, she's sort of all PC, and she's you can't talk to people like that. And of course, she's in 1987, and she goes to the school and pretends that she's an exchange student, and she says, "Oh, can I do this?" And the woman on the desk just fill this form out, you're fine. And she's like, "Is that it?" And she's like, "Yeah." What do you think? Are you sure you're not going to check anything? You're not going to check my story? And the woman just looks at her and is like, okay. And there are moments like that which are actually quite funny, where she's just dealing with there's a bit where she goes into the one of the rides or something. There's a thing later on, and she makes up this story, and the guy behind the desk goes, "All you had to say was no." She says something along the lines of, this needs to happen, and we're closing this down. I'm from this government agency sort of thing, and the guy just goes, "You could have just told me I needed a break." So she goes, she finds out where her mum's got gym, and when she turns up to the gym class, they're playing dodgeball, which of course, modern kids don't play dodgeball. Or I don't think they do anymore.
I can't imagine.
And she's horrified by the way that they're getting wrecked by these balls and stuff. And she, obviously she finds out that her mum's horrible. And then she goes to the police and she says, "Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? I'm living that movie." She says, "There's going to be a murder tonight. You've got to stay." And obviously the police are like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." He does say time travel movies are stupid. They never make sense, which is like, okay, fine.
Often accurate.
There are some nice bits in it. I quite like the idea. So there's the initial murder. She doesn't save the girl, but it does get changed. So she was supposed to die in the garage, but because of her intervention in the party, she ends up dying in the bedroom. And when you go back to like our time, the podcast guy is talking to her best friend, and he says, "You know what? I swear that she was murdered in the garage."
So he's got like a memory, or like a weird memory of it happening different.
The best friend says, "Oh, that's the Mandela effect."
Mm-hmm.
So whatever she's changed, we will remember differently. We will remember the initial thing, but it will be one of those weird memories you have. And I thought, okay,
yeah, that works.
I like that. That's fine. I kind of like that. So Killing Chipka's great. She's really fun. Most of the performances are great. It's a really dumb movie. It's not great. But I did enjoy it. Some of the 80s references will really test your patience. It is naff in places, but it kind of knows that the sort of the when she goes back, she goes to her best friend's mum and says, "Oh, she does the Doc Brown thing." She goes to her and she says, "You haven't made it yet, but I know you've got the plans. I know you've been, you've written them because I'm best friends with your daughter, and blah blah blah. This is," and she's like, "Okay, yeah, I buy that," and they just like move on. So she's just making a time machine now so that she can go back, to the future.
Yeah.
So you've got so many beats from so many other movies. The kills are quite good. The CG on the knife and the blood is bad. There's one particular shot when he's attacking one of the girls, and it's like, wow, that knife looks. It doesn't even look like a knife at one point. It's those effects are terrible. But it's fun enough. It's if you're kind of over the 80s nostalgia thing. I kind of am, but I'm still so attached to the 80s.
I'm massively attached to the 80s. I think it's not that I'm against 80s nostalgia. It's that I'm against the Hollywood perception of what the 80s was.
Yeah.
Which is very different from reality.
This is very that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when it's done intentionally, I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah, and this is done intentionally.
Yeah, clearly.
Obviously, they've got the Hughes reference and the Molly Ringwald thing, and that will appeal. It certainly appealed to me, even though it's naff as fuck.
Yeah.
I quite like the girl playing the young version of her mother, Olivia Holt. I think I've seen her in something before. She was quite fun. It's rough. It's adequately directed. It's fun, and it's quick enough that it doesn't drag or anything, and it's just a fun enough 80s slasher movie that you can just stick on and enjoy for a few giggles. And some of the millennial stuff will get on your nerves, because it certainly got on mine. But it was like kind of valid. It was like, okay, yes, it's that one sort of thing. And I did like the sort of the fact that how shocked she is that nobody gave a fuck about the 80s. Like, just do, go outside and do that, and do this, and no one cares. They just let you get on with your life. and obviously she mentions things like casual racism and homophobia and stuff, and it's like, yes, of course it is. So it kind of does work, but it is annoying at times. But I still enjoyed it. It's fun enough, and I'd say if you want a sort of weirdly nostalgic slasher movie, you could do worse than this.
Cool. Well, I will probably give that a go. That's all of our movies, isn't it?
It is.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I don't think so. It's been pretty quiet.
Oh, I did want to briefly mention Beekeeper.
Oh, yes.
The dumbest trailer I've seen in a long time. Have you seen the trailer for Beekeeper?
Yeah, you mentioned that the other week.
Did I mention that too? Oh, God, did I mention it on the show?
I don't remember whether you mentioned it on the show. But
no, I did. I think I did a breakdown of Beekeeper before the show, because that was just after I'd seen how dumb that trailer was. Yeah, never mind. Well, we've done it. Next time, I know what we're doing next time. Tell me what we're doing next time, Matt.
We are doing Ringu.
Ringu, indeed. Not Ring 2.
Yeah.
We're not doing a night watch, day watch situation here. We got it right. We're doing
the original Japanese.
We're doing the original version of The Ring. A wonderful film. Can't wait to do it. Yeah, well, we will be back next time with that. We've only got one more after that. Yeah, we're closing in on Halloween. So, yes, Ringu next time. And, yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. And we will catch you on the next one.